Today, we're going to dive into one of my favorite parts of training camp and the offseason, and that's the process. Like, the process of training camp, I don't know for any other football fan, I'm not trying to dictate how other football fans should live their life, but, like, it's one of my favorite parts of the offseason, hearing how guys have stepped up, especially once the pads are on, those type of things. It's always going to be fun, right? And everybody knows that, of course, with Caleb Williams, Rome Odunze, Luther Burden, Colston Loveland, DeAndre Swift, all the big names in training camp. But some of the things that I love the most is to hear how some of the outside names really step up in training camp. I expect that we're going to hear from Zavion Thomas and other players. So in today's episode, I want to talk about some of the most underrated players that could be X factors for this team and who the names to watch out to how they stand out in training camp, how they can affect the Chicago Bears season overall. I also want to talk about Logan Jones, who's actually drawing comparisons to Drew Dalman, and Luther Burden being picked as one of the wide receivers to break out this season. We're talking about all that plus more right after this. What's going on, Bears fans? Welcome to another episode of Chicago Bears Central, your number one spot for everything Chicago Bears related. I'm the host there, Haize, but more importantly, you guys can follow the channel at Chi Bears Central on every social media platform we happen to be on. With that said, let's go ahead and get into this content for today, y'all. So I want to talk about sleepers. Sleepers to watch in training camp because I do think, like I said in the intro, it's one of my favorite things in training camp to hear how these guys have stepped up and really stood out over the course of training camp as well. And the first name that I'm going to mention, I'm going to go position by position. One sleeper at each offensive position. We'll do the defense tomorrow, offensive position in training camp. And the one I'm going to mention is Tyson Bagent at the quarterback position, right? Again, Caleb Williams is not a sleeper by any stretch of the imagination. But Tyson Bagent, even me calling him a sleeper is a bit stretched. Now, we heard that there were some serious teams that were willing to make an offer to trade for Tyson Bagent this year. And there's naturally going to be a team that's quarterback gets injured, quarterback disappoints, or whatever else. Maybe they're changing the direction of the team, and they could make a pivot towards Tyson Bagent. And much like, especially with Caleb Williams and how healthy he's been for the Chicago Bears, there's going to be time like Tyson Bagent's time to shine is during now, between training camp and preseason. That is Tyson Bagent's time to shine. And I do think the Bears could be forced with a decision of, do we keep Tyson Bagent as a really good backup that fits our system, that fits our scheme, or do we make a move, right, and go ahead and accumulate some assets for him, regardless of what that is? I don't know exactly what you get off. Like, I don't know how much career backup up until that point, quarterbacks go on the trade market. It really depends on the team. But, like, if a team is making a transition and, they're making a transition with their team and they need a system quarterback, Tyson Bagent can fit that, especially if they don't have the quarterback of the future. While they get that, there could be teams that definitely come looking for Tyson Bagent as well. And this is going to be the time where Tyson gets to kind of audition for those teams if he does. And so, I'm glad that the Bagent baddies have calmed down a lot in regards. We don't really hear the ridiculous Tyson Bagent stuff anymore. But I think that Tyson Bagent has value on the Chicago Bears two different ways. He has value of being a backup quarterback that offers, if for some reason you do need him to step in, you kind of know exactly what he's going to be able to bring. But he could also bring value for the Chicago Bears that are going to a place where the quarterback's about to get extended. Darnell Wright's about to get his extension. And you can stack some draft assets or something for him and look at it in that regard. So I think because of that, Tyson Bagent is somebody to watch out in this training camp. Next up, at running back position, I really almost went Coleman Bennett. And I probably should go Coleman Bennett. And the reason why, let me just fight against my own point. I'm not going Coleman Bennett here, but the reason why I probably should go Coleman Bennett is because if Coleman steps up and is a legitimate running back 3 option, because Roschon Johnson has not been consistent. He hasn't stayed healthy, and I put him at somebody who's on the roster bubble, right? And so if you have a case where, Coleman Bennett comes into this training camp scenario and situation and actually turns some heads and it gives you a third running back that you can trust in, albeit the snaps aren't going to be a lot for him with Kyle Monangai and DeAndre Swift, that it changes the conversation. And we talked a lot about how this Bears team needs to be a more consistent, like not run reliant, but it's still a run heavy team, right? And so with that, a guy like Coleman Bennett, that he steps up and adds another weapon to the two-headed monster that is DeAndre Swift and Kyle Monangai, could definitely change some things for the Chicago Bears. But for the interest of this conversation, I'm not going to go that. I'm going to go Kyle Monangai. And if you've been watching me over the course of this summer, one thing that I said in regards to Kyle Monangai is how many running back one traits does he show this season, if any? Like, I want to be clear. If Kyle Monangai just shapes out to be a perfect player for that a dual running back system, there's no harm, no foul in any regard of that. What he was able to do on the ground, what he does as far as not going down with the first level of contact, what he still offers in the receiving game, are all things that are valuable, whether he's a running back one or a running back two, especially in Ben Johnson's system. So I want to be clear there. But if Kyle Monangai starts showing a little bit more running back one traits, then, hey, we'll see. He had 169 carries last season compared to DeAndre Swift's 223 carries last season, right? So there's a legitimate question in regards to this, is that does the gap between those guys get a little bit smaller, especially with Kyle Monangai being trusted, at this point now? He's earned that trust. Last year, he had to earn that. We saw it at the beginning of the season. It was a progression in earning that. But still, even with that, to have 169 carries, 783 yards, 5 touchdowns in regards to that as well, right? Tied for 30th in the NFL. He was 24th in overall rushing yards in the NFL. Then also being able to offer 164 yards receiving to go along with no touchdowns in there, but an average of 9 yards per reception. Kyle Monangai is an absolute weapon on this team, but I want to see how much does he take it a step further. And hearing that in training camp, how much he's ready, stuff like that is going to be fun there. And I think Kyle Monangai, again, most people, and, via the episode I talked about, I'm just going off that. A lot of people say Kyle Monangai doesn't have, maybe that upside of being a running back one, but I want to see how much does he show any more of that, right? Next up at wide receiver, I think everybody's going to know where I'm going to go here. Zavion Thomas. Zavion Thomas is the guy. Khalif Raymond's the vet. Jahdae Walker, of course, could be a pick here too. We know Rome and Luther Burden they're going to be guys that grab attention. Zavion Thomas is somebody that every single practice, OTA, minicamp, we heard something about Zavion Thomas almost every single day. Ben Johnson has talked glowingly about Zavion Thomas, right? And so Zavion also has the capability and the possibility of being outside of just the run game the pass game for the Chicago Bears, the kick returning, the run game, all that type of stuff. I'm so intrigued to see how we implement Zavion Thomas. He's going to have a chance in preseason for sure to earn that. I wouldn't be surprised even if he does look really good in preseason. As we've seen from Ben Johnson before, the rookie's got to earn that trust in regard to. That's why you have Khalif Raymond. That's why you have Jahdae Walker here and stuff like that. But overall, as a third-round pick in the draft, there's just no doubt about it that he's there for a reason. And they saw something in him to where they believe that he can be something for this team. And so we're going to see. He's not a Velus Jones, right, in that regard. He's not just speed. But that dynamic that he can bring to this team could definitely open up some things for this offense, and an offense that we're hoping are going to be absolutely explosive this year, and we'll see. The tight end position, Sam Roush. We know who Cole Kmet is. Colson Loveland is going into his second year, but we already know how dangerous he is. We saw that last season, right? Sam Roush has the capability here, if he is ahead of schedule and is ready to play. And again, I don't I said with a Coleman Bennett, if he does get the running back 3, I don't expect him to play a bunch of snaps. I don't expect him to get a bunch of touches when it comes to targets in the wide receiver game. But it's his ability to bring a little bit of everything right at that tight end position, blocking, catching passes, freeing up Colson Loveland a little bit more. This guy is going to be, and he much like the other players, he's going to get a lot of opportunity in preseason because I don't think we're going to see our starters a lot. And what he does with that opportunity could dictate a lot of how he's used as he becomes and grows trusted a little bit more in that. He has high-level blocking techniques that you just can't deny in regards to it. That could be how he finds his way on the field initially first. But then on top of that, you are going to see some targets for him, at least him being used in the receiving game some. And that's going to open up some things. The 12 and 13-man personnel is going to create a lot of that. But Sam Roush's ability to create holes on that for our running game, that's what I'm really looking at for him first. And we'll see how it goes in that regard. In the offensive line, it has to be Caden Barnett, right? I think Caden Barnett has to be the guy that stands out there, the guy that's known as the vanilla gorilla, right, in regards to that. But I think that this is going to be a guy that's going to get some time and some opportunity. And it's something that we've seen before. Look at Theo Benedict, right? A player that got some, Luke Newman, who got some, it's Dan Roushar. If he trusts you on that offensive line, especially early in, it says a lot about your overall upside. And Caden Barnett has a guy that I think, he has the kind of more modern athleticism that people are looking for from offensive linemen as well. But in regards to that, he has the versatility and he has experience in the same type of scheme. So I think in regards to that, I'm not saying that he's going to challenge for a starting job or anything like that, but depth is important on the offensive line too. If you are able to sub out some of these guys and get quality snaps from the guys and keep your offensive line fresh, especially as the season goes on and those type of things, because, offensive linemen, you got close to 300-pound men running into each other on every play. You want to keep those guys as fresh as possible. And Caden Barnett is one of those guys that I think, if not to say you're going to look back on him and say, oh my God, it was an amazing season, but I do think watch the quality snaps. Caden Barnett, Luke Newman, and Logan Jones, right? All three young players between first and second year players, they have a lot to offer this team, I think, coming into the season. And I'm excited to see what they're going to bring in regards to that one and how Dan Roushar is going to work with these guys. So on that offensive line, Caden Barnett is the guy that I'm looking at for sure for the Chicago Bears this season. So let me know what you guys think in regards to that one. But we're going to stay on the offensive line and the guy that I just mentioned, and that is that is Logan Jones, right? Logan Jones drew a comparison to Drew Dalman that I think, really says a lot about why the Chicago Bears went out and get him. ESPN's Ben Solik said this in regards to Logan Jones. Jones is cut from the Dalman cloth. Not physically dominant, but smart and quick on his feet. Of course, the Johnson offense is brutally complex, which could make asking a rookie center to manage protections and run adjustments right away a recipe for disaster. Jones will likely unseat Bradbury at some point this season. How well he performs in training camp will be the first sign of just how ready he is. Listen, we've talked a lot about this. Garrett Bradbury is the perfect guy that's a bridge center for you. And that's what he's most likely here to be, right? Now, there is a chance that he signs another deal with the Bears and stays on as a backup because that's where he can thrive at as well and have his second leg for his career. But I think when you look at Logan Jones, even getting any type of comparison to somebody like Drew Dalman, who we know how important he was for the Chicago Bears last season, it's there. Now, I don't like comps a lot because I think sometimes when you make comps, some people take that as, oh, that means that's the exact player that they're going to turn into. And that's not really comps are meant to do. It's kind of meant to, it's not necessarily meant to say you're going to be the same type of caliber of player, but more so that's the kind of where your skill set projects to be at, right? And so we'll see what's going to happen here. Logan Jones and what he did in the pre-draft process was good. A 4.9 40, right, in regards to that as an offensive lineman is big in regards to that. Like we said, how the new kind of modern athleticism and speed that people are looking at from offensive linemen. Dan Roushar and Ben Johnson are at the forefront of looking for that for their offensive linemen. And so, the fact that Jones is already getting some of those things, he's a two-time All Big Ten selection in regards to that one, a All-American, unanimous All-American in 2025. He won the Remington Award as well as the nation's best center last year. There's just no doubt that Logan Jones is coming with a lot of experience and possibilities of what he can turn into as a player. You just can't deny that, right? And I do think that there is that chance that Logan Jones could start by the end of this year. Now, I'm not saying come into that because, again, having and I won't necessarily call it a redshirt year either because he is going to be playing. Like, I do think Logan Jones is going to be playing. It's not going to be a year where he just sits down and just learns the system. But the fact that you don't have to rely on him to be the starting center right away and you can bring him along a little bit more slowly is there. But I will say this, if he does earn the starting role by midseason or any point after that, it says a lot about how ready he is and the fact that the Bears did find their long-term center. And that's exactly what the Bears should want in this regard. You lost Drew Dalman in a way that wasn't expected, right? Nobody really expected coming into this offseason that Drew Dalman was going to retire, but he did. And now you're left sitting here holding the pieces together, but you found a really good bridge in Garrett Bradbury, and then you found a really good future center in Logan Jones. And that just goes to show how the Bears are forward thinking. I get it. A lot of people are going to say, but what about the defensive line, Haize? And I understand that. I get that for sure, right? But, we'll like I said, Ryan Poles has no reason not to address that this upcoming offseason. Let's see what he does there. But overall, Logan Jones already kind of getting those eyes on him, I think says a lot about what he can be. And he's going to be really fun and exciting to watch his growth over the course of this season because I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I think a lot of Bears fans are going to, and that's for the ones that really pay attention. For some, like I said, one of the things about offensive linemen is that some people don't even talk about you when you do good. They only talk about when you're bad. So we'll see what happens in regards to that one. But let's talk about some other praise that was thrown towards the Chicago Bears. Andrew Hawkins of ESPN talked about Luther Burden in his case to be one of the breakout wide receivers of 2026, which is a thing that this isn't the first time we've heard this, right? Him saying this. I think he is going to be the breakout wide receiver of 2026. When you watch him last year, he wasn't a true point of offense until midway or later. He almost led the team in receptions, even in the minimal offensive targets and snaps. He does it in yards after the catch, contested catches, and he runs great routes. I think he's going to turn into a true number one, and this offense is going to take a big leap. We'll talk about the offense making a big leap because, the Bears' offense was already one of the best offenses in the game last year. But Burton caught 47 passes last year for 652 yards, 2 touchdowns, over 15 games. And like we said, even in some of those games that he played early on, he wasn't really a big part. He was third in the team in receptions and fourth in overall yardage. Yes, Luther Burden is set up to have a big season this year. There's no doubt about that. I don't care how the most pessimistic Bears fan, I think, even has to realize that Luther Burden has a chance to be him on this team. It's not a knock to Rome Odunze or anybody else for that matter. It's just to say how fucking good Luther Burden is. He is that damn good. And so when you talk about the absence of DJ Moore now on this team, and you're looking at 2 second-year players who both in their own respective ways are going to help try to fill that void in Colston Loveland and Luther Burden. And no knock to Rome Odunze. He's going to have his place too. We're going to see what Rome Odunze does. But the Bears have more open opportunities now with DJ Moore's absence. And how we balance that out is going to be one of the most fun things to watch at over the course of the season, because Luther has a great chance. And I'll say this, Rome has a chance too. Rome was on pace for a great season over the first 5 or 6 games of the season. Then he got hurt. He played injured for a while. Then he missed some games and he came back. He wasn't himself. How he adjusts to that new normal with his foot is going to be really big and important in that. But, the Bears have a chance to have a true 1A, 1B system here with their wide receivers. And that's going to be fun. And then also have a guy that can be the best tight end in the game of football in Colston Loveland. The future is bright here for Chicago and our offense. We need our defense to catch up a little bit, but the future is very bright and it's real. It's not that type of blind optimism that you have just because a team is your favorite team. It's the real factual, the excitement that you have because you've seen the glimpses of what these players can be. And glimpses don't always turn into realized, consistent thing, but these guys feel different. The 2025 draft class for the Chicago Bears was already one of the best draft classes in recent memory, and they have a chance to continue to get even better and even push that even further. That's what I'm excited about this season because we have the coaching staff, we have the system, we have the scheme, and some of these defensive guys as well, and Shamar Turner, Ruben Hippolyte, that didn't show some things last year. Let's see what they do next season also, right? And the 2025 draft class is one that I can't wait to go back, 2 or 3 years from now, looking at 4 or 5 years, after that draft class and look at those guys and see what they've really turned into, because I think it's been real. It's real. Like these guys have the chance to not just be because we draft them, but they have the chance to be real top of the line NFL players. And let's see what happens there. But all right, moving on for that, I want to talk about an article that came out about the Chicago Bears and the Super Bowl hype surrounding the Chicago Bears as well, right? Connor Orr of Sports Illustrated said this. I think Johnson is one of the league's elite play callers who will be setting the pace for what is schematically possible this season. Because of that, sometimes one-score wins represent less of a fluke and more of the fact that Johnson is simply calling better plays in bigger moments than other offensive play callers. Chicago's Super Bowl window is coming, but it's a bit premature to say that it's already arrived. I love this, right? Because it is like, I think sometimes us as fans, and even sometimes as analysts, right, we have the habit of sometimes looking at who a team can be, or even sometimes in players, who players can be, and then trying to view them through that lens already as if that's where they are yet. And the Bears are a team that has tons of potential. We saw what the Bears did last year in getting a playoff win, right? And winning the NFC North, those type of things. And for a Bears team that becomes more consistent through 4 quarters, it's going to get even stronger, but they still have to show it, right? And that's the thing that in regards, and that's why, for all the doubt, I always kind of ended on one thing. Once we get on the football field and we show it, what do people have to say then? And that's going to be the most important part of this entire evaluation of where the Chicago Bears are and who they can be is when it's on the football field, how do we look? How do we stand? How do we measure against other teams? And this season is going to be one of those seasons that everybody who's doubting the Chicago Bears are either going to have more ammunition to continue doubt or they're going to have to shut the fuck up. And that's just the reality of it. You're going to have to shut the fuck up. And if you keep hating, listen, I've been very good this offseason in not letting Petty Roosevelt out too much. I think I've done a pretty good job at least, right? Last season, I was firing on all cylinders, giving people to work. I got receipts saved and stored too. Best believe I'm still petty. I still have the receipts saved. But overall, I'll say this, like, the Bears made a huge step last year. And to be able to make that step under Ben Johnson, it's natural. And I'm not saying any Bears fan, I'm not saying none of y'all are wrong who like, hey, we're going to be Super Bowl contenders this year. We can win the NFC North again. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. Hell, can we win the NFC? Not knocking any of y'all for that, because that's where you should be after your team had the season that the Chicago Bears had last year, and we have the potential of getting better, right? And so, we all should be. I'm not going to say we should be there. I understand the people that are there. But I'm going to come down to this. Where we are and what we show on that football field, that's it for me. Because if we come out and we are a much better four-quarter team and we're not living and dying off the comeback attempts anymore, and we're dropping points on you, we're getting stops, all that type of stuff, I'm going to be insufferable for Packers fans. I'm going to be insufferable for Bears doubters. I'm going to be insufferable for Don Burr and Lions fans. I'm going to be insufferable for anybody who throws some hate at this team. Because if it's proven on the football field, you're not going to be able to stop me from planting my flag in. We about to upset the NFC. So have some fun with it, as we should. We've earned this. We've been through the fucking mud in regards to this one. And let's see what the Chicago Bears can turn into this year. The Super Bowl hype, that type of thing, is just hype for right now. But I tell you what, once the season and the lights are on, and we on the football fields and between those lines, we start looking like that team again. The Haize that you'll see then is not like any Haize that you've seen up until this point. But I want to thank you guys for tuning in to another episode of Chicago Bears Central, man. You guys are amazing. You guys are the lifeblood of this channel. Make sure you guys sound off on all the topics. I want to hear your thoughts. Always get that comment section bumping with your thoughts on the Chicago Bears down below if you're on the YouTube side. If you're on the podcast side of this, we love to hear from you guys as well. That's why we have the mailbag. But with that said, make sure you guys like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell so you never miss an episode or an upload. You can follow us at Chi Bears Central on every social media platform. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns, chicagobearscentral@gmail.com. And lastly, if you want to leave a text message and our voicemail for the mailbag, the number to do so, 773-242-9336. We are the number one spot for everything Chicago Bears related, but that is thanks to you, lovely and beautiful people. And like I like to end every episode on, Chi-Town up, but Bear down. Love you guys. Peace, y'all.
This has been a presentation of the Break Media.